Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Too Hop to Handle, and with me today is someone that's too hop to handle, I guess, I don't know. Here's my good friend SC MacPeter, say hi.
Hello. Any giant mice around here?
Well, unless you count me, well, I don't know. But just a few bits of info to get underway. So as mentioned, this is a review for Too Hop to Handle, released on the 28th of January 1956. It's the 760th in the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. You can find this on the Looney Tunes Superstars Hippety Hopper DVD set, where it contains all of the Hippety Hopper shorts, for better or worse. There is a HD version out there, as this was restored in high definition originally, but as far as I'm aware, it's not on a set yet, and hopefully it will one day. It is under copyright, so you won't find this on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves choose to upload it. But in case you haven't seen this one, you've got, once again, Hippety Hopper escaping the zoo. You have Junior wanting to learn how to catch mice, but Sylvester can't teach Junior because there's no mice around, apparently. So Junior gets the idea from his book, The Pied Piper of Hamelin, to just play the flute and he'll call mice over. And sure enough, he ends up calling one, alright? A giant mouse, Hippety Hopper. So, you know, it's a standard Hippety Hopper short, I guess. So, yeah. But trivia-wise, there's a few interesting things. I mean, I'll get the obvious one out of the way. This is yet another adaptation of The Pied Piper of Hamelin, and man, that story was adapted countless times in animation, and I'd be really curious how many times it was actually done across all the studios. Warner's done at least, what, 4 or 5 offhand?
Yeah, they did 2 with Porky, they did this one. They did one with Sylvester, and I'm sure there's at least one we're forgetting. If not, I'd be surprised.
Well, there's even book review where there's like a Pied Piper of Hamelin, and I think it's Jack Benny or something. It's just really, it's referenced all the time. It's a very common story. But yeah, I'm curious about how often the different studios did it. But thankfully, it's used creatively here. Regardless of one's thoughts of the short, at least the idea is pretty solid. And speaking of writing, Warren Foster's back. He's writing for McKimson again. Pretty sure he did another one before the shutdown too for McKimson.
He did Of Rice and Hen.
Yeah, so at this point with the shutdown, post-shutdown, things were just out of whack.
There was some gradual disillusion in the later half after the shutdown. It wasn't common until Foster and Maltese left, but there were little pieces where a writer would help out another director here and there. Maltese wrote 2 or 3 for McKimson later, and Foster definitely, his last cartoon was another Foghorn or Broken Leghorn. So yeah, there was some disillusion, and I think there's another one later on this year that's also by Foster for McKimson, The Unexpected Pest.
So it's just an interesting period of time, but what's also interesting, as you just mentioned, everyone's helping each other out. We get one animator that's not credited here. We only got 2 animators credited, but there's actually 4 all up, and one of them is a rather interesting one. So who's that animator?
That is Jones' mainstay since the 30s, and someone who hadn't worked with McKimson since he left the Jones unit as an animator, Ben Washam. He actually wrote, of all things, Gone Batty. I guess he was a baseball fan, but yeah, Ben Washam does some of the first few scenes with Sylvester and his son's exchange, and I'll talk about this when we get to that part of the cartoon, but it's really well done. Another thing, too, is that McKimson doesn't have a dedicated layout man yet, so Richard Thomas is doing double duty here, and it's serviceable. It's a little more colorful than what stylized looks, but I can't say I'm offended by it. We'd be getting too repetitive if we talked about Richard Thomas and every McKimson miraculous detail, but there is some attempt at stylizing here that I have to respect. He tried. I think it was down to his taste and his personal speed, because it seemed like Richard Thomas worked really, really fast, especially at Hanna-Barbera, where he's credited on more cartoons than anyone else, and I don't know how he did it.
There's definitely some interesting things in this one, and I'll definitely point it out, especially around the beginning with the zoo bits. But yeah, this one, again, I saw it when it was on the Hippety Hopper set. I watched all of them in a row, which was a big mistake, because there's a lot of great ones, but I forgot about them, because they'll just all blend together. It's the same idea, you know? Yeah.
I think that's really the reason why you don't hear a lot of people talk about these cartoons, is they really don't do a lot to divest from the whole giant mouse idea, even if there are a few pretty good ones, honestly. For my money, I like the second one, Hippety Hopper, the most, because I like the bulldog in that one the best. It has the great personality. and I like one we did, the one with the cult that Sylvester wants to join in. Bellhoppies, that's a fun one, and maybe if not one of the best ones, but I did also like doing Lighthouse Mouse because I like the dynamics. I like how well established everything is and that it was a out there idea, but it seemed weird Foster just couldn't get back into the attitude, or it may have just been the fact that McKimson seems like he no longer had the energy after he got his job back, or it might have even been his animators being second string and not being able to execute what McKimson would do 5 years earlier with people like Rod Scribner and Emery Hawkins. It just seems like as soon as the studio reopened and once McKimson realized he could get settled back in, it just feels like he was at the point of no return to trying to do these things. And even with a Foster script, it doesn't feel any different from what a Ted Pierce would be at this point, unfortunately.
But thankfully, there is a lot to like about this one, even if it's not the finest Hippety Hopper short. And honestly, I can think of way worse shorts to watch. I did a review for Westwood Woe recently, and, well, watching this one was actually a breath of fresh air, so there is that.
Yeah, it's functional enough, but really is sad, unfortunately, I have to say.
But I do like the opening, though, because with the opening, that shot of the zoo, how simplistic it is, it really has that UPA influence right there. I think McKimson really tried to push for a UPA look in a lot of his shorts.
It's a nice storybook look, maybe a little more colorful than it needs to be, but I like just the fact that there's an elephant loose, and we get the whole that the kangaroo is loose, and we get some scenes of Hippety Hopper animated by Keith Darling, who's the only other credited animator besides Bob McKimson himself. Keith Darling, it doesn't seem like he was used to animating stylized characters. This nurse who beats her is animated very loosely, but it doesn't really match that whole design, and then it might have even been how McKimson laid it out. It's the same thing with the seesaw guy. Again, you needed someone else to animate them a bit more funnier.
Because if you slow-mo when that, I don't think it's a nurse, it's just a maid of sorts, or a nanny rather, she'll be probably a nanny. And as she's hitting the guy with the umbrella, if you slow-mo that, it's kind of got that weird effect with the multiple umbrellas. So maybe Keith's just trying to figure things out here, I don't know.
It's more so just how he draws the stylized design. It doesn't seem like he was used to it yet. Maybe he was later on, or again, it could have been a layout thing, and it's sort of the same thing with the father and son.
I like the Mel Blanc's delivery of, what did I do? What did I do? Complete with the fact it doesn't have two front teeth.
What I do? What I do?
So,
I like that design. And it feels like something way earlier, too. It doesn't seem like something as stylized as some of these other characters.
in the father and son duo, yeah, it's very stylized, and again, it comes across like a storybook type thing. But that's a great one, slow-mo, when he gets hit in the head, where the son falls down on the other side and hits the father, so you know, at least Keith's trying, I guess.
Keith was, I believe he was the animator that came back, the only one. So he was a junior animator, which I think says a lot about who was in McKimson's unit. Other animators would have been people like Ted Bonnickson, George Grampay, Bruce Dyson for the first few years, and then Warren Bachfloder, who was a very good animator later on. He was Virgil Ross's assistant for about a decade.
And we get a gag here with Wet Cement, which is a repeat. One of the earlier Hippity Hoppers is a whole thing involving wet cement, so there's a slight repeat, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with the slight repeat there. It's just the dog getting scared, and there's not really much to it.
Again, not as lively, but here's the one part that's really lively. This whole exchange between Sylvester and Junior, animated by Ben Washam, and it's a real what if Chuck Jones did one of these cartoons.
For the 1000th time, I'm telling you, it's impossible.
Some father I've got, neglecting my education as a pussycat.
Oh, suffer and succotash, son. How can I teach you how to catch mice when there are no mice in the house?
Even if it isn't handled like one, I mean, you get kind of the idea. And he's still using Bob McKimson's poses, of course, but it's animated really loosely. It's really theatrical. It's really some of the last full animation we ever see in a Bob McKimson cartoon.
Well, an ingenious father would figure out some way to attract some mice.
And just how, pray tell, could a cat attract a mouse?
Well, like it says in my storybook, that's one way to attract mice.
I wish he had someone like this for the rest of his time at Warner's. I really do like it. Apparently there's even one cutscene where Sylvester looks up at a mouse hole. Maybe there was supposed to be a gag where he demonstrates how there was no mouse there, even with the mouse hole, because you see that in that scene. I really like this exchange, though, and the characters are really in full force here being animated. I like it.
I like the fact that Junior says that one line which made me chuckle, saying,
The pie-eyed piper of Hamelin. Ah, that's just a story. That never really happened.
Now he's disillusioning my childlike faith in books.
he's disillusioning my faith in books. which, fair enough. It just looks like Sylvester should really be more supportive of his son. I guess he is, but some shorts seems to be more supportive than others, so yeah, there is that,
Yeah.
of course.
And by that point, we get to Bob McKimson's own animation, which is nice enough, but you can tell that it's a bit more straightforward in that he was just doing it to get the cartoon out rather than the devotion that he had much earlier. It just seemed like, again, as soon as he was secured enough, he was beyond the point of no return, unfortunately. He still made cartoons we like, of course. Next year we have Rabbit Romeo, which is a really great...
Sylvester says a line which I can't seem to understand, like, what is he saying? It says, like,
Oh, bourgeois.
bourgeois. I don't know what that is. So if anyone knows what he's actually saying there, is it a regional thing or like a dismissive phrase that people use somewhere? Definitely let me know in the comments because I can't hear it. I do like the fact that it's like, you just pretty much go away, I've got other things to do, and of course it's sleeping. I mean, it's pretty important, isn't it? Especially to a cat, right? And Sylvester says the one line which you're going to see a lot of McKimson shorts from here on, which is the whole sheesh line.
Kids. Eee.
Of course, the whole sheesh is something that's been a little memed about McKimson. He seemed to have a lot more control, not in just the drawing, but also the dialogue, because, I mean, he had the most dialogue of any of these people's cartoons.
But we get to the outside, where Junior does the whole thing that a lot of younger kids should be doing, and that's, experimenting with stuff. So in this case, it's like, well, I can't see how many holes, so I'm going to start with 4. He plays it, a pig comes out, adds another 1, it attracts a cow, and then when he adds the 6th hole, we see Hippety Hopper, and I've got to say, that's a nice, charming little scene there.
And even with the feeling that this is a lesser period, I mean, some of these guys, there's still some attempt at least of putting something acceptable out there. They went out quite a distance. I do like the whole concept that Junior is trying to figure out how to actually attract an animal, and I think that could have been a more interesting idea if they didn't use Hippety Hopper for this cartoon and just focused on other animals. They did a few cartoons with just Junior and Sylvester that are actually quite a bit better.
But I like how Junior tries to wake up Dad and says, my father's a heavy sleeper, which, yeah, I guess a lot of fathers are like that. So it's a nice, charming little scene.
Father, wake up, father. Wake up, father, wake up, father. My father's a very heavy sleeper. Father, wake up, father. Father!
What's all the fuss about, son?
It's really an attempt at doing a cut, but it's not handled as well, and it just seems a little stiff or maybe not as sharp. I think there should have been a bit more of beating him before he said that line.
He finally wakes up and we see those McKimson eyes that we always see, the whole McKimson squint.
He had a thing for drawing. This is something that's done in more modern cartoons where if a character squints, they have like human-shaped pupils. Like McKimson was really a forerunner to that. Even Jones adapted it a little bit, but it was something that came down to McKimson, actually.
And there's a weird delivery by Junior when he says, but Dad, like, it's just a really weird delivery. I don't know why they kept that in there. It's so weird sounding.
Huh? Why, that's ridiculous.
It does so, father. Here, try it and see for yourself.
Okay, I'll show you how wrong you are. See? No mice.
But, Dad, there's a mouse behind you.
Behind me? Where's the little rascal?
I guess he's stuttering over his words, but it almost sounds southern. But I really like Sylvester looking at Hippety Hopper. That's actually really well handled. Limited, but it's good limited animation.
It's just a great realization. It's like, oh, this is a really big mouse. Sylvester now agrees to teach Junior how to catch him. I just love how Sylvester just walks all nonchalantly, just to sneak up on him, and Hippety Hopper just thinks it's all a game and ends up just kicking him through a wall. I mean, that would hurt.
Mm-hmm. This is where McKimson did work well with these characters. The humiliation of Sylvester. They do focus a little bit more on the pain than just the plain humiliation, but that it's almost funnier that way, I have to think.
The next line's pretty good, where you got Junior, he's trying to talk to his father, but he realizes, whoops, I'm speaking to the wrong end. Goes over and says,
Speak to me, speak to me. Oh, silly me, that isn't the talking end. Oh, there you are. Father, wake up! Your honor's at stake!
Yeah, steak. Nice juicy porterhouse steak. Who, what, where, when, who? Quick, son, run around and pull me out of this mess.
which is making me hungry. I love a good porterhouse steak, But the great scene is next, where you got Junior trying to pull Sylvester out, so we've got some good squash and stretch animation there, while him struggling to get him out. But then the next bit of Hippity Hopper just using one hand and just flinging him That's great. Not so
Yeah.
hard, son.
I like it, although, again, this is where you needed a much stronger animator to handle it. It just feels like a sack of flour doing it rather than a full human. It feels like it should have been handled more cartoony with him, maybe like having his bottom hit Hippety's forehead. I feel like that would have been a funny way to end it. Of course, we get a lot of pain rather than humiliation of Sylvester going through all the ramps. This is the difference between McKimson and Jones in the way that they would handle, say, how Sylvester gets it versus how Wile E. Coyote gets it. And then the cartoon sort of ends before it actually does, with the zoo coming in.
Exactly. We see that Sylvester decides he's going to wrestle the mouse, and he does say,
Say, you've got a lot of strength in those puny little muscles.
I didn't do it. The mouse did. Come on, Pop. Go get him. That's the old spirit. Show that mouse who's boss. Go get him, Pop. Sick him.
Okay. Stop rushing me, for heaven's sake. I'll get him this time. I haven't been watching the wrestling matches for nothing, you know.
there you go, guys. Sylvester's a wrestling fan. How about that?
You hear that,
Gorgeous.
Manny?
Yeah, that's it, Manny. Maybe he's a fan of Gorgeous George or whatever. I don't know the names, but, you know.
I wonder what his favorite era of WrestleMania is.
These are the questions I need answering. So we see that Hippety Hopper, he just thinks it's all a game, really. Just bounces Sylvester out the window. Sylvester ends up going on a wooden plank, through a roof of a barn, onto a pig. And I like how this just takes place in just a generic farm. I mean, McKimson's shorts always seem to take place in farm, even if they're not
Yeah, and it
shorts.
begins sort of like in a city area, so Hippety must have gone really far away.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, we can see while he's riding the pig, he goes underneath the fence, which looks pretty painful. You know, he's scraping his back. His groin would be extra painful over that pipe that he goes over. I mean, ouch. And he's flung back into the well. So yeah, we see the zoo, as you mentioned. So there is that. So I guess we've learned that 6 holes means that you get kangaroos coming to you and not mice, which is Junior's realization. But I like the added gag that Junior had brought up his dad, but he lets go of the handle.
And I like that he doesn't even finish it.
Well, back to the kangaroo cage for you, Hippety.
So, that wasn't a mouse after all. Well, there's only one thing to do, and that's try 7 holes in this thing and see what we get.
Sylvester somehow gets out and he grabs the pipe and says, okay, give me that. We need a small pipe for small mice. And we get a beautiful ending. I mean, say what you want about this short.
It's a funny, unexpected thing. We were trying to figure out if this piece of dog animation came from somewhere else, and my theory is that it was actually an unused piece from Ancient Tweet, because Freeling was a tough task maker, so it would seem that he could have something redone, and this would be an earlier take of the Bulldogs in that cartoon or Dog Pounded.
Yeah, I think there was something reused because it just doesn't look like it fits in here. It looks like it was just something grabbed from somewhere else and just shoved in. But still a great ending, though.
It's a real throwaway one. The thing that bugs me is that it just ends on mauling, and Sylvester Jr. just pretty much implies that his dad is dead, which it kind of grosses me out. It just feels like McKimson didn't have the taste to handle it well.
Fair enough. I mean, I like the ending. It's just this really weird thing.
I like the unexpectedness of it, of course.
Yeah, but we end right there.
We're pretty much in the end game for McKimson as a filmmaker, unfortunately. And it's only going to get worse from here. So I do want to say, I do love Bob McKimson as a director. I just wish things worked out better for him. He was always going to be a B director, of course. That's why he got the position. I just wish he had maintained what he had before the shutdown, the animators and those budgets, because at least he would have had an easier time, I think.
In terms of a score, well, look, it gets 7 out of 10. I enjoy it. It's just a little bit on the weaker side with animations and such. But, I don't know, I laughed. It's just middle of the road. I think that's probably a good way to put it as well. If it's on, I'll watch it. Yeah, I don't know.
I would give it a 6.5. I mean, McKimson's ambitions aren't there, but at the very least, he had something to work with, and you get some interesting ideas, and you do get a good idea of how to draw these characters, even if it's just functional rather than exceptional.
Yeah, exactly. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.
I wonder if anyone would be interested in adopting a fatherless kitten.